Hi, and welcome back to the Legacy Kitchen. Today I'm going to be telling you how to make a very special crispy salmon with asparagus. And right here I have about 1.25 pounds of salmon, which would be a good serving for at least 3 people. Then I have the asparagus. You're going to need olive oil, some salt. I'm using truffle salt, which is going to taste awesome, but if you have another flavored salt or just regular, feel free to use that. Pepper and a lemon. So I'm going to teach you how to put a really nice crisp on the top. So we're going to sear it face down in a really hot pan and then slide it in the oven and let it finish. And the asparagus is going to be roasted. So we're going to drizzle it with a little olive oil and then put it in the oven. Now asparagus, not everybody always likes asparagus, but I think it's because sometimes people overcook it and it becomes super mushy and droopy and kind of gross. But asparagus is really good for you, and if you cook it right, it also tastes really good. It tastes really good with a lemon. If you decide you truly hate asparagus, you could sub something else like green beans or broccoli or some other kind of green vegetable that you love. Okay, so let's get started. So first let's get the pan lined with some foil. I always do this because it really cuts down on my cleanup. So you don't have to, but you're gonna really have to scrub your pan after, so I always do it. Next thing we have to do is trim up the asparagus. So I have washed and dried it. If you're ever gonna roast any vegetables in the oven, you wanna pat them dry just with a paper towel, because otherwise you will basically steam it in the oven, and what you want is it to be kind of dry with a little oil on it, and that will make the outside a little bit roastier and it tastes great. So asparagus can be these skinny guys, and then other times you'll see they're much fatter. But whatever kind of asparagus you're using, you're going to want to trim the ends, because the bottom can kind of be a little hard and woody and it just doesn't taste very good. So the trick is you're going to bend it and see where it snaps off. So that's the part you want to get rid of and keep the rest. So I don't have to snap them all, but I can see about on all of them how much I want to cut off. Okay, so then I'm going to spread these guys out on my pan, and I want to leave room because the salmon is going to go on there and they're going to finish cooking together. You just need a little olive oil. I'm going to put on a tablespoon, so this is just a tablespoon. When you're measuring fat, it's a good idea to always measure it because it's easy to overpour on the cooking shows when they're just like olive oil, blah, 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 blah. There's probably 600 calories worth of olive oil. So you don't need it, you just need a little bit. So this is going to be enough to coat it. Just give it a little massage and then a quick sprinkle with my truffle salt. And a couple grinds of black pepper, a little more rub, but just space them out so they have some room to breathe and so the heat can get all over it. Okay, so now we're going to move over to the stove and sear the salmon. So we're over at the stove and we're going to start working on the salmon. So one of the important things is that you really have to get your pan hot. Okay, so I am just setting it to medium high because what I want is to really sear the top of the salmon. So I'm just going to let this just heat up just for a couple seconds before I put the oil on. That way the oil doesn't start to burn. So I still want my oil to be hot, but the heat of the pan is going to take care of it for me. So I'm going to season up my salmon here with some more salt. I would say I use probably half a teaspoon to a teaspoon, but you can see it. As long as it has a nice little coating, you're going to like it. And you can always add more salt before you eat it. Just a couple grinds of fresh pepper. And while you weren't watching, I cut my lemon because I forgot to before. But here's a little quarter of it. I'm going to add a little lemon before cooking and then again after cooking. I can place my hand over this and feel it getting hotter. If it didn't feel super hot, I wouldn't be ready to cook. But I really feel that it is heating up because of that high flame. Now I'm going to take another tablespoon of olive oil. You can also use coconut oil if you prefer it. I prefer the olive oil flavor on this because I do think that cooking with coconut oil gives it a little bit of a flavor. I don't mind it, but for this, I prefer olive oil. I'm just gonna move it around a little bit. You'll know that your olive oil is nice and hot. You won't be able to see it on the camera, but when you see it start to shimmer a little bit, like a little rainbow shimmer, you'll know that it's getting nice and hot. So we just need to give it just a couple more seconds. And I find that I cook with my ears as much as I do with my eyes, because I know when I hear it sear on there, that's how I know it's hot enough. If I ever haven't heated up a pan and it just doesn't make a noise, I take it off because I know it's not ready yet. Let's test it. You don't have to be perfect. It's just food. My salmon has the skin still on. Some of your salmon will, or maybe it won't. But this is, when I say in my recipe face down, I mean face down like this. Some people like to eat the skin. My dog likes to eat the skin. It's not my favorite. But so I'm going to do it face down. There it is. I rubbed them around just a little bit. I'm really just going to let this cook just for like a minute or two. All right, so he's getting a little bit brown, and I'm going to give him just a couple more seconds. A little bit more. All right, I'm going to turn my heat off and transfer it over to the pan. Gotta be careful because I'm going to flip it and put it skin side down and crispy side up, and that's how I'm going to roast it in the oven. Okay, just going to flip them over. So you can see, got a nice little crust on the outside. So that's going to taste really good. And now, my oven is already hot, preheated it to 400, and I hope you did also. Preheat your oven. If you got this far, don't worry about it. Turn it on now. My rack is toward the top, and that's going to cook for about 12 to 15 minutes. I'm going to definitely check it at 12. The thing about salmon is that you can eat it a little rare, but if you dislike it rare, that's fine. Just cook it a little bit longer. If you cook it for too long, it'll probably get dry, but it'll probably still taste good. And the asparagus, I'm going to check after about 10 minutes, and then I'll give it just a little stir with my spatula so all the sides of the asparagus can get cooked. Okay, see you back in a couple minutes. Hey, all right, so I think our salmon and asparagus is ready, so we're going to take it out of the oven and plate it up. All right, this looks great. I'm gonna grab my tongs and use these to scoop out a third of the asparagus for everybody. All right, these guys are gonna be good. Now I'm gonna just take the salmon. Here we go. Okay, we got most of it, left a little piece on there, but it's the skin, and like I said, I don't love the skin. Just gonna cut him to thirds. Oh yeah. So we like our salmon a little rare. It's cooked on the outside and just a little bit pink in the middle, which is gonna taste awesome. Okay, come on here. There you have it. A little extra lemon. Makes it taste awesome. So I'm gonna do it up, leave it for everybody else to do it. So this is it, full of healthy fat, healthy carbs from the asparagus. It's gonna be so super satisfying. Even your kids might like it. So give it a try and let me know what you think.